Hey, it's Mike McGroarty from freeplants.com and mikesbackyardnursery.com. Today I want to just give you a little short video and give you some landscape design tips. Landscape design is actually pretty simple, and it's not complicated at all. People kind of make it a lot more than it is. So I think by seeing just the basics of what I do with my own landscape, and I'll kind of give you some sort of pointers on the way, I think you'll learn a little bit about landscape design and how to implement color without making it look too gaudy. At least I think that's how my landscape looks. So anyway, let's take a look. Alright, now here on the left there's a red lace leaf weeping Japanese maple. Specimen plants, typically we use specimen plants, just one in an area and then accent with smaller plants. The rule of thumb is to use the smaller plants that you're going to use in the foreground in groupings of odd numbers. You don't have to do that, but I find that it makes it a little bit easier. So you see here that the coral bells, I've got the a purple leaf variety in front. There's 3 of those, and then over here we've got 3 more coral bells, 3 red azaleas, and use plants in groupings like that. Don't put one here, one there. Always try and get at least 3 or 4 in a spot, or 5 in a spot if you can. But then again, there's no hard, fast rules, and you'll see that as you go through my landscape. Now in this shot, you see that there's the specimen plant is a butterfly Japanese maple, very pretty, variegated leaf, and then new growth comes out with a pink tinge to it. Very, very pretty plant. And then there's some more coral bells. Now here in this planting, I've used 4 of this snow angel coral bell. There's 2 in the front of the tree, 1 in the back, and then 1 way down on the end of the bed to the right. And then I put in 2 of these tabletop juniper. There's actually 5 in this bed altogether, but there's 2 on this end, 2 on the other end. Now right in the front here, we're looking at this is Coral Bells Caramel. Very, very nice plant. And actually, I'm starting up my backyard nursery again, and I really haven't told you that, but there's a lot more to come on that, and I'll explain all that later. But this is a plant that I would seriously consider growing and just selling basically for the landscape trade, because I like how well they worked out in my landscape. This hosta here, I can see that the frost took a bite out of that last week, but hostas are resilient. It'll come back. This Japanese maple, this is it's actually a lace leaf weeping, but it's got variegated leaves, and it's featured in my Japanese maple video that you can find at freeplants.com. Again, it's a great specimen, and very, very interesting though, and I've got like 3 of those in my landscape in different places around the house, and they all 3 look differently. Now from here, you might be able to see some of the variegation on the Japanese maple. Very interesting plant. There's some white azaleas in here. I wish I'd have gotten out here before the frost got to the blooms on the azaleas, but I didn't make that. But one interesting thing I'm going to point out, over in this corner, I've got an electric meter, the telephone wires, the water meters, there's a backflow preventer for the sprinkler system that we just put in. I don't go to a lot of pains to hide that stuff, because when you try and hide it, you just put this gaudy looking thing in your landscape. So my theory is, if you've got a nice landscape, no one's going to get all upset because they can see your electric meter. This is a waterfall Japanese maple, and again, that cold weather got the top of it a little bit. That happens, and I don't get too worked up over it. Underneath of it, I've got some this is Armeria. It's a perennial. It almost looks like grass when it's done flowering. When it's done flowering, we'll just cut all those flowers off, and it fills in, and it actually is kind of interesting in the landscape. But again, I've used 3 of them. The idea that eventually they'll all grow together, and I'll show you another spot where I've used them in the landscape. The small tree to the left there is a lion's head Japanese maple. There's some miniature roses in here, some more coral bells right in the front. There's some coral bells in the back. And again, some more flowering azaleas, some variegated iris in this part of the bed. This is a red lace leaf Japanese maple. Again, a little bit of frost damage on top. Tends to happen every year, but the plant will recover from that just fine. Now this bed, I just planted these little tiny coral bells, and I've just planted a mass of them. Just last fall, so by the end of the summer these things will all be filled in, and this bed will just be a mass of color. And then I've got a lavender twist red bud on the other end of this bed. And then the crazy looking plant in the middle, that's a Harry Lauder's walking stick that I'm training into tree form. There's a whole page about that whole process on my website as well. That one's at freeplants.com. Okay, in this shot, this is a Caroline weeping crabapple tree. And in here there's, I've got a bunch of miniature roses. They're probably not going to show up in this video yet, but once they start blooming, this is really, really pretty. And in the background, I don't know if you can see it, but I'll show you the Emeria. And again, here is another of the variegated weeping Japanese maples. Now this is the other side of that bed, and this is more of that Emeria. You can see that I planted a mass of it in here. And right now, those two green things, just kind of with the stake on them, are sticking up out of the middle. Those are two more Harry Lauder's walking stick that I'm training upright. Once I get them trained, the head of the plant will actually be above the Emeria, and it won't look as cluttered as it does now. And of course, knowing me, I'll probably move them somewhere else. This is just a spot that I found to stick them so I could get them trained into a single stem tree form. From this angle, just looking down the walk, you can see the the variety of different colors and so forth that we have in this landscape. And some people are going to say that's the worst design in the world. A lot of people, the average homeowners, can say, wow, that's kind of nice. I like that. Maybe I'm going to try and duplicate it. It doesn't matter to me because Pam and I like it, so that's all that really matters. So here's a closer shot. Now this is the third of those variegated lace-leaf weeping Japanese maples I have in my landscape. And if you want all the botanical names and everything, just go to Google, type in freeplants.com, Mike's Japanese Maple Collection. That's an easy way to find it, but it's on freeplants.com. Now this bed violates all the basic rules of landscape design because I've got two specimen plants in there side by side. Actually, the Japanese maple wasn't doing well on the other side of the house, so I moved it over here. And then down on this end, I've got this low-growing sedum that's very bright yellow in color. And the little plant in the middle, I'm going to replace that with that upright. I've got an upright azalea, deciduous azalea, that I showed you in a video a couple days ago. So that's going to go in there, and I'll move that larch somewhere else and give it a chance. Anyway, that pretty much concludes this video. And I want to tell you that I bought a piece of property. I'm really more excited than I've been about anything because I bought a piece of property. I'm going to start the backyard nursery back up. I got a lot of work to do. It's an old farmhouse, and there's I think 4.6 acres there, which is just enough to do what I want to do. So anyway, you're going to get to watch that thing in progress. So I don't have a lot of time, but I will make it happen, and you will see it on video. So thanks for watching, and have a great day.